was a tremendous honor for Shabtai to host Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz. He is one of the great rabbinic minds of our generation.
I didn't know much about him before, but was the range of his learning.
He was a student of math and chemistry and physics. He had a scientific mind. He had an inquisitive mind.
He talked extensively about Freud and psychoanalysis. He knew all kinds of things.
He believed that all true knowledge ultimately leads to the same place, and that a perspective of tradition of a godly, inspired world, a world that was created by a creator, would ultimately come to realization by those that studied those subjects if they searched deep enough.
He is speaking to an audience of people who are inquisitive about Judaism, inquisitive about Jewish history and texts, and he managed to find a way to speak to us.
I guess it's a sign of being a rabbi, a teacher, how he seemed to be able to take each person who asked a question and sort of treat them and treat their question with seriousness and with respect.
He does not speak as someone who is preaching to you what to do. He has this extremely unassuming manner and an ability to clarify and to compress vast amounts of very difficult material.
As Charlie Hill, a very distinguished professor of blessed memory, a non-Jewish professor at Yale, and statesman, once said to me after Rav Steinsaltz spoke, that it was a Zen moment at Yale. A full 180, a full reversal, where you come into a room thinking about everything and anything one way. You leave the room thinking about things very differently. And most importantly, you're not quite conscious about why.
Oh yes. So, just in order to become acquainted. So that you want, you see, when you hear about a rabbi, you think that the rabbi is eating people every time, eating them alive, or doing something horrible to them. So this rabbi throws mice. Okay. Okay, good. Okay.
In planning the event for Rav Steinsaltz here at Yale, we created a short list of people that we thought would be able to have a conversation with him in front of an auditorium of people. Professor Tony Krummon, who is a professor but is also a philosopher, was the person that we ultimately assumed would be the best person to be able to pierce the law in pursuit of the underlying essence of what stands behind the law, and that he would be able to open up Rav Steinsaltz comfortably to a conversation on campus.
I thought we might begin with this. It's a question that has been very much on my mind the last few years as I've been writing my book, and I suspect in one way or another, it's a question on the mind of everyone here in the room this evening. It's a question about the place of religion in the modern world.
Modernity, as I talk about it in my book, it's a phenomenon that emerges around the 16th and 17th centuries. Our sense of what modernity is based on a rejection, repudiation of something that went before. We can call that classicism, we can call it antiquity, but modernity was a self-conscious break with the past, with tradition, with the order of things. And modernists of the early modern of that period were very conscious of this.
There are many who feel strongly that we have much too much religion in the world today, And it would be altogether better for all of us if there were less of it. And then there are many, many others who say, we live today increasingly in a spiritual wasteland, in a desert, in a godless world where none of us any longer know where we are or why we belong.
It's true that something fundamental changes at some point in modernity, in the relationship between the individual and the community. Whether to be and to remain a member of that community is a matter of individual choice. And that is something that Judaism has had to struggle with and try to understand.
So, Professor Kronman, what should I do? And I say, let's ask Rav Steinsaltz, and he will tell us. What are their choices?
The one choice is take a little glass of whiskey. add to it some chocolate. I prefer bittersweet chocolate, but you can have others.
Yeah.
You can have others.
In the glass itself?
No.
But by the side. Okay, good.
By the side. And if you can have some kind of good company, and you'll forget all about religion.
Yeah.
You'll forget all about it. Now, it's not really true, but you see, look, in a very rough way, say, we don't know about any primitive culture or any culture at all that doesn't have religion. So whatever we define ourselves, say, if we go to the cave paintings, they're all of them. They're extremely beautiful, really extremely beautiful. But they are a depiction of some kind of religion. We don't know what religion. They didn't know how to write, but it is a religion. So that it seems to fight against it. To fight against it is something. Okay, I want to fight against egoism. Okay, how can you fight about it? If you have an I somehow. So how can we fight about religion when it is a part of, say, I don't know about any kind of a human society of any in the past, in the present, in the most remote places. It doesn't have this part, which means it's a part of which is important to us as much as what I call the ability to speak.
I do think religion is important for society. I don't think a healthy society can dispense with religion. One of the things that the study of political theory has taught me, the history of political thought, from Greek times to the present, is that society and religion sort of require one another, and a healthy society is one that cannot dispense with religion. I also think there is a kind of disheartening secularism / scientism. Fallback position is always to some kind of scientific methodology, and it really strikes me as a barren, intellectually and kind of morally barren landscape.
A few years ago, I spoke in Oxford about not about this problem exactly, but a similar problem. She said there is, in fact, what really happens is there is what in a big way that Christianity is sinking, dying, not very fast, but slowly. What comes instead? Instead, it's not a new thing. Instead, the old pagan religions of the old times are awakening, and so we are living in a new pagan world, and that is the world that we live in. See, we just change a little bit the names, but in every pagan theology, changing the names of the gods is easy. So Baal, we don't call it Baal, but we call it as in the New Testament, which is not the New Testament, but it's common. It was common Hebrew then. We call it Mammon, and in other places it's called what I call it. It's my discovery of America. I found there's another word that is a dirty word, a 5-letter word, and I cannot cope with it, even though I can pronounce it. It's called money. It's possibly much dirtier than any of the 4-letter words that I know. But this is one God. So you have the God of money. This is one big God that rules the society. You have sex, which is still as it was it had different names in the past, but it is still the goddess now, as it is. Slightly, I would say. In Greece, they used to dress the goddesses. Even those goddesses of sex were dressed. In our times, they are possibly they try to save money and to dress them a little bit less. But they are
I thought that was to make money.
The difference between who is making the money and who is paying the money.
Yeah.
So and there is what I call it the point of which is the third god. It's what we call it. It is the goddess of fame. This new religion is ruling the world. It's ruling surely what's called the Western world. The Western world has still some remnants of Christianity, but Christianity is dwindling, and what the new old gods are reappearing, resurrected. And now with these gods, you have to remember, these gods in one way they make your life much easier. You don't have morality, you don't have these things. You have a relationship with your gods.
The Enlightenment, which is kind of modernity, the Enlightenment told us, in Immanuel Kant's famous formulation of it, enlightenment means think for yourself. It means come to moral maturity, where that means thinking for yourself. Don't rely on parents, don't rely on tradition, don't rely on authority. You have to be an enlightened person means to think it through yourself. There's something admirable about it in many ways, but it has an offshoot to it too, because most of us don't really think things through for ourselves. What do? We end up falling back on, well, once you've discarded all of the traditional grounds of moral belief, what then are you left with?
The problem of presenting things solely from the standpoint of individual freedom of choice is that it looks as though values are essentially goods in the marketplace. You can walk into a supermarket and you go to the cereal aisle, and you have this cereal, and you have that cereal, and you have the other cereal. You have many different types of cereal. Some of them are pretty similar. You can choose. So if religious commitment and ethical commitment are presented that way, it really ignores the challenge and the value of rising to those incredible aspirations that have been developed over many, many generations.
But people want this thing. They want to be hit over the head and to be peaceful forever. See, but that is it's not a part of religion. It's a part of escape, and people can escape into madness, which is easy way. An easy way. You can escape into all kinds of things, which is again now getting into religion or dealing with this, among other things, accepting that there are. I'm dealing with questions. And the questions, the fact that I cannot answer most of the questions is because I reach as a human being, so to say, my limits of understanding. And then I receive the questions, and with these questions I'm going to the limits. Now, in many ways, this work between those limitless questions is the way of life, which you may call it a religious life. But a religious life is not a life what people want it. If people want this life to be some kind of a everlasting peace, I think that Judaism, by what I can compare with most of the religions, is possibly the most demanding religion. Mm-hmm. It's very demanding. See, very demanding. See, it's hard.
So then the question is, okay, so someone says, I'm in for it. I'm a religious being, and now I've got to figure out which way to go. And there are various options which are on offer. And Judaism, the Jewish option, looks so strenuous and demanding and tiring and exhausting. And it never comes to an end, and there's no soft bed at the end of the road. So make me a sales pitch. That is the sales pitch.
My sales pitch is you won't get a soft bed. You'll get a mountain.
Yeah.
And when you conquer this mountain, I tell you, if you conquer the Everest, you reach the peak, the ultimate peak. When you reach the peak in the way, in what we call it, in a personal way, I promise you'll find it just next to it another higher peak.
We all try to avoid hardship. We all try to avoid things that even make us a little bit uncomfortable. Oh, I really wanted to go to this restaurant, but the kosher, right? Or Shabbos, but it goes up against this other obligation that I have, right? So we're always looking for loopholes. We're always looking to find a leniency that will make our lives better. But that's not what Judaism, the lived Jewish experience, is about, and we're up against that challenge to reconstitute our Judaism in a modern world that is not a ghetto. How do we live in modernity? How do we live as free people, as equal citizens, as people with all the rights afforded to everyone else in the world, and still retain that Jewishness and still retain that identity? It's a big, big challenge that's confronting us.
Isn't it true, perhaps, that in every great religion there is the 5-cent version, and then there's the $50 version, and the more expensive version? I scratch that. That's a very vulgar way of expressing the point in one way. There's a demanding version of the religion and a less demanding version of the religion. There's a religion that is good and satisfying for many people. It doesn't ask much. It offers comforts of a routine and available kind. And then there's a version of the religion which is endlessly demanding, strenuous beyond anything that any human being could ever hope to accomplish. Isn't that kind of the way it is for any religion that survives long enough and includes enough people so that it can claim to be a world religion or a religion of some...
Okay, you made a good pitch for that.
Yeah.
You made a good pitch. You have not one commodity.
Yeah.
You have a dozen commodities, different prices, different achievements. It's really a wonderful thing that you sold it.
Yeah.
Most of the people. Did anybody who don't want to buy one of these commodities, say, of any version? I didn't specify one. So it's a commodity now. Now, if we are speaking about ideas, it's a different thing. Oh. When I speak about ideas, I may say there's a story that I read once. There was one person, a nice guy, but a simple guy. He went to a synagogue and he found there somebody praying. And the person was praying, didn't know who is listening, but the prayer was so touching to the person. So after watching the other fellow pray, he ran out and says, where is my tail? Where are my horns? Because he said he felt himself like an animal compared to a person that is a human being. So that's also something. It is something that you don't at least if you don't buy, so to say, you won't buy the high commodity. But that at least you should have a certain wish or dream or something about it to have the higher level. To have the higher level. That's a statement in some of our books. So, which is everybody should say, when do I come to do the things like our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? So, can I do it? But I'm asking everybody. I'm asking a little boy, and I'm asking an adult to what can you do to achieve this thing?
He said, and this was another one of the remarkable pieces of Torah that he gave over to us. He said that when we say Shema, right, and we're reminding ourselves that we need to love Hashem.
And you should love your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with everything more. So the point is, with all your love.
That's with the love that you have in the world, right? The love that you feel for your children, the love that you feel for your parents, right? The things that you care about, that's the same kind of openness of heart and appreciation and affection that we should receive God with.
Which all your life means to be able to give everything, including your life. And then comes to the third level, which is, and then do something more.
And this was remarkable when he said this, and I think everybody was kind of like silent and listening. He said, Uvachol meyodecha, right? This is with all of your will. This is even when death would be an easier option. You have something that you have to face, torture, right? Or pain that is like the experience of torture, to confront that, to bear that, to carry that, and to still love God and come back to God.
To do something more, I don't know if people reach the first level, the second level, but I know that they are not only a second or third level, but there's a level that is, whatever I have done, what is more. So, you have it in descriptions all over the world's literature, and unluckily also in real life. See, there's torture which people cannot stand. And the idea is you stand it and do more and accept more.
That's what it means to be Jewish. That's what it means to devote yourself beyond, even beyond willing to give up your life, beyond that, to a life that maybe means pain, that means hardship, that means confronting difficult things. V'chol meyodecha, and it stays with me, his voice in saying that, and the reception that it had in the audience.
It used to be thought that religion was a thing of the past that was fading away. And I mean not just religion as private commitment or spirituality, but traditional communal structures of religion. And then I think it became very clear in the early 2000s that traditional communal religion is not going to fade away. And there's been a resurgence, consequently, of traditional religious life. So I think both of those things are true. And there's a dialectical tension between them. Traditional communal structures into which you may be born rather than choose to become a member still exist, and they're very powerful, and they're not going away. Individual choice is also here to stay, and it's not going away.
Strauss presents these, this is kind of the drama of the Straussian story, but Strauss presents the claims of religion, faith, morality, all on the side of Jerusalem, and the claims of reason, science, intellect, all on the side of Athens. The rabbi was an excellent example of the kind of ability of a man of faith to incorporate and to address the claims of reason. He's kind of a true synthesis, in a certain way, of Athens and Jerusalem in that respect. And in fact, the distinction between the two may in fact be, it may clarify in some respects, but it may also obscure in other respects. And I think, in a way, we have to appreciate what he represents as, in a way, a certain kind of bringing together of both of those sides of that dualism.
Because the dialectical tension between individual choice and traditional religious structures continues to exist, the work of Rabbi Steinsaltz will continue to be valuable, because he was able, as nobody else was, to bridge that gap, or to resolve that tension or to embody it within himself, and to bring the whole traditional Jewish corpus, most of all the Talmud, but not only the Talmud, other great works as well, to bring those works to and make them maximally accessible to people who were approaching the tradition as individuals.